Welcome to From the Hill. I'm your host, State Representative Jim Arciero. This is my 9th show that we've done each and every week since the pandemic certainly has been top on our minds and something that we're all dealing with. And I've been speaking with stakeholders, folks that are on the field dealing with the pandemic head on. And today I have a good friend of mine, the Superintendent of Westford Public Schools, Bill Olsen. Bill, thank you for being on the show today.
It's my pleasure, Jim, and thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you. We, each and every week, Bill, we like to focus on, a different subject matter, and certainly how we've been, adapting and evolving really during this pandemic. And the Westford school system, obviously, my alma mater, Westford Academy, Robinson School, Norman E. Day. So, my daughter is in preschool now at the Frost School. I went to Rodenbush as a preschool student myself. So this school system means the world to me. It means the world to this town and to the parents that the children go to, the best school system, Nietzsche.com. So many of us know the statistic, but we're very proud to know that Westford is ranked the #1 school system in the country on Nietzsche.com. What an honor, Bill. And I know I've said it to you publicly in other forums, but on the Zoom forum today, congratulations, Bill, for your leadership, for this team effort with the faculty, the students, the families, the parents, the school committee, everybody. It's just been a great team effort. And you've been ahead of that. And I just want to congratulate you.
Well, thank you very much. And just to clarify, they have ranked us the best school system in the state of Massachusetts and one of the best in the nation. And we all, Jim, and picking up on something you said, we all have a deep love for this school system ourselves. This is not a job for us, it's a passion. And my job has been to create a culture in this school system where people feel safe. We have created a climate of trust and respect. They enjoy coming to work. We enjoy interacting with each other, and we try not to be a top-down school system. We try to value everyone's opinion, whether that's a teacher, a principal, custodian, food service worker, because everyone matters. Everyone makes a difference in the life of a child. It's different now. It most certainly is different now. And you used a word a short while ago of adapt. And it's interesting because in many of my graduation speeches over the years, which the students really don't want to listen to, because I'm the last speaker before they receive their diplomas. They don't want to listen to me. And I understand and appreciate that. But I always mention in a graduation speech how important it is in life to develop the ability to adapt to changing conditions and recalibrate our position and our direction in life. And this is probably one of the most challenging situations that any of us around the world have seen in terms of testing our ability to now adapt the way we interact with each other, to the proximity that we are able to place ourselves within each other's positioning, where we can go, where we can't go, when we can go. It's quite a state of disequilibrium that all of us are experiencing, and particularly in the life of a teacher. If I asked you, Jim, to name a favorite teacher that you had either in kindergarten, 1st grade, 5th grade, 12th grade, you could name it in 2 seconds. We all could. That's the impact and the power that a wonderful teacher has. And that's what's so frustrating to all of us now in this pandemic, is that connection, that deep connection, perhaps just through the eyes, just through a smile of a teacher. Now, yes, they can do that online, but it's just not the same as being in person in a classroom with a child.
Certainly. And I think I recall, Bill, it was probably mid-February when we were getting more consistent reports, if you will, about the coronavirus in Europe, in China, in Korea. and we were having a conversation about recouping money for possible overseas trips for Westford students. And to think about that conversation and where we were in February talking about that and how the world is so changed in 3 months, to think about that issue, which is still a live issue. A lot of other school systems are dealing with it. But now where we are in the end of May, looking forward to, graduations and the way our lives have changed and how we're going to adapt to things, it's quite a difference, and quite a difference for the school system as well.
It's amazing, and of course our hearts go out to our seniors. We can all remember the culminating activities that we all went through towards the end of our high school career. How much it meant to us to be close to our friends and our classmates. There's a tremendous bond that grows over the years, and particularly in the high school years. There's a closeness that is irreplaceable. There's a love and respect and caring that is irreplaceable. And to see that not be able to play out fully in terms of trips, the events, the live events. Now, yes, we are making plans for virtual celebrations and scholarship awards, but we know it's not the same in the hearts of us and in the hearts of our graduates and their families. That's what's particularly concerning to us, because we want to make sure that we can adequately recognize them for their great accomplishments. We don't become the #1 school system in the state only because of what we deliver in terms of curriculum and instruction. It's the talents of our students. It's the commitment of the parents also that makes a huge difference. And as you said, the commitment of the community also. So, our hearts go out to the seniors. Instruction has changed, as you know. We have routines that the teachers are going through that allow them to create videos through either Google Classroom or Seesaw at the elementary level. The teachers create those lessons a couple of times a week. They spend some FaceTime with students in terms of their morning meetings, or sometimes the afternoon meetings. But it's like you and I having this conversation right now. We're looking at each other, we're communicating, but it's just not the same. My father was a great man who always said that when you greet someone, you greet them with a big smile, a firm handshake, and a pat on the back.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's missing. I mean, my first inclination is to extend my hand out to people and shake their hands, and I have to remember I can't do that. So can I tell you a little bit about what our teachers are experiencing right now?
Yeah. Certainly a lot of people back at home, especially for families that don't have children in schools, kind of take us through when the pandemic started to hit and, the coronavirus was starting to spike, and the action you took as a superintendent and as a school committee on next steps to deal with this. Not every school followed suit right away, but you were part of a collection of schools. It's important to educate from.
Well, we like many other school systems across the state, we're waiting to take our guidance from the Commissioner of Education, obviously, and that did come down. I want to commend Dr. Cleary and our coordinators and our principals and our staff for putting together a remote learning plan as quickly as possible, and a very thorough and well done remote learning plan. I know we were all collaborating between local districts to see what everyone else was doing, trying to take best practices from each other and suggestions. What's been the most difficult part of all of this is our teachers not being able to use their complete repertoire of skills. There's the technical skills that a teacher obtains through a college education, both the undergraduate and graduate, and through years of experience and the acquisition of of knowledge. And then there's the interpersonal skills and the ability to connect. And it's been difficult to deliver the curriculum to the same level that a teacher has been able to do that in the past, because the commissioner has said that the length of time that a student should spend each day on education should be about 1/2 the length of a conventional school day. So at the elementary level, our conventional school day is 6 hours. So that would mean 3 hours of interaction with the teacher and independent work at home. At the the middle school and high school, it's 6 hours and 20 minutes. So a little bit more, a little bit longer day. So that's been challenging in terms of their inability to walk around a classroom, to stop and talk to a child, to understand whether it's through the eyes or through the facial expression, or through the shoulders, either upright or slumping from a child, or the head down on a desk.
Absolutely.
Who's understanding the material and who's struggling. And that's something that doesn't translate easily through a computer screen.
And, it doesn't translate, Bill, in education. It certainly hasn't translated very easily in politics. We had another remote, our second House Representatives had our second remote voting yesterday, which so far is not bad when the votes are a little more predictable and a little less, if you will, in terms of roll calls. But once we get into the budget where there's thousands of amendments, my goodness, Bill, it's not the same, just like you said.
No, and one of the challenges that we've had, like many other school systems, is the issue of consistency, because parents who have 2 or 3 or 4 children or more in the school system will find a child doing X number of minutes or hours of work at this grade level, and then a different amount at another grade level, different amounts of contact time, and that's to be expected. Not everything is equal in terms of the amount of time that a teacher will spend with students, the amount of time that students will need to continue their work. One of our great concerns is the social emotional well-being, not only of our students and our staff, but our families also, with parents who are trying to continue to work, whether that's at home or whether they've been able, if they're being classified as an essential worker, to be able to go back to work in their physical setting. And how do they manage that? And how do they juggle that? And we understand the difficulty that presents to parents. And we don't have a good solution for that. We probably never will have a good solution for that, but we know that is a real issue. And we are very, very concerned about that in families.
And we talked about adapting, Bill, right? So as we've started to adapt, we did it pretty well on the fly. I mean, when you think about how at least a school system like Westford, who's very tech savvy, very, very, probably most of all the students have access to, a laptop, et cetera. But there is going to be a question in the legislature when other school districts can't afford to have laptops for remote learning. Is that something you've had discussions with other superintendents about?
Yes, in fact, you and I have had a discussion. Just had a discussion recently with Senator Kennedy also about the fact that I think all communities and the state and the federal government need to look at the ability to fund accessibility to the internet from all students, because even in a community like Westford, there are some families who simply cannot afford that access, and we want to make sure they have it. So we need help in funding for all students being able to access the internet. We need continued help in terms of hardware. With more hardware comes the need for more bandwidth, and therefore more infrastructure, more robust infrastructure. But very importantly also is an ingredient that a lot of school systems did not pay much attention to over the years, and that's professional development. When technology was starting to be deployed in a large scale across school systems in the nation, a lot of school systems felt that if you took a laptop or a desktop or an iPad, Chromebook, and put it in front of a staff member or student, great things would happen. Well, it's only to the extent that people are trained on how to use that, what's the utilization of that, and how to use it. So a lot of school systems have had to cut their funding for professional development. And that's a crucial element of increasing the competency of our staff. You know, early on, the guidance from the state was to stop where you are as of March, the beginning of March, and just go deeper with the understanding of the curriculum that has been presented to date. Well, we chose not to do that because I didn't think that in a town of the caliber of Westford, that the community would be accepting of essentially stopping the curriculum with 3.5 months to go in the school year. So we made that decision to continue to present new content. Now, interestingly, about 3 weeks later, the commissioner then came out with a new guidance document that said, well, now that we're going to be closed the remainder of the year, let's present new material to students. And so we were on top of that. We were originally doing that to begin with, and we'll continue to do that because that would not have served our students so well.
You know, nobody really has a crystal ball to tell. Well, nobody really exactly knows when things will go back to normal, if it's a neo-normal, which, you know, we're looking for some sort of normalcy. I think everybody is, and the governor's laid out 4 phases. We're in the first phase now. But anytime anyone asks me, when do you think we'll get over the mountain on this issue, I always reference the 12 to 18 months it would take to formulate a vaccine, find a vaccine, get through FDA regulations. That is going to be a neo-normal and a new reality for us in the upcoming school year. What do you see as some of the challenges with remote learning, with this neo-normal, with students that are homeschooled? There's a lot of different questions I think a lot of people are wondering about.
You know, in life, I've done a lot of work, Jim, on studying innovation and how that can be taught to people. And there are 2 schools of thought. There is incremental change and there's disruptive change. Well, we've been forced into disruptive change. And out of this, I think that you're going to see more school systems across the country offering a hybrid education in the future, because I don't think this is the last time that there will be disruption of people's lives, occupations, business activity, and education, the process of education. Moving forward, I'm not sure whether we'll be in a brick and mortar or a remote environment starting the next school year, although we will be prepared for both. I have a committee right now that involves our administrators, our teachers, food service people, our nurses, health related people, the Department of Public Health, or our own health board, public safety also. And we're looking at all of the issues that we have to study in relation to what do we do if we're brick and mortar, what do we do if we're remote, and how do we do it better and more effectively. So we'll be prepared. I do think into next school year, there may very well be, even if we're back in school, there may be some parents who are reluctant to send their children to school until, and the key is, as you indicated a few minutes ago, until there is a reliable, research-based, tested vaccine for this particular virus. You know, I enjoy listening to Dr. Fauci because I think he's a brilliant man and knows what he's talking about. And I agree that how can any of us feel safe until there is a known vaccine for this particular type of virus? So we're going to be prepared. One of the implications, Jim, that I think you're going to see also is colleges and universities changing the teacher preparation program to provide teachers, prospective teachers, with greater levels of skill in remote learning, different platforms, different types of learning management systems. So I think the change will be permanent. It might be incremental in terms of combination of in-house or brick and mortar education and remote education, but I do think we're going to have to be prepared for alternative modes of educating children in the future.
And it does add, an additional layer to issues dealing with schools, whether it be funding, whether it be the Promise Act, the Chapter 70 Review Commission recommendations that we put into legislation this past year, and budget issues. We look at now and somewhere around a $4 to $6 billion deficit due to the coronavirus and inactivity of the Massachusetts and national economy. Certainly July will be a little bit better. We moved the tax date from April to July, so there'll be a little bit of a spike in revenues, but it's going to be some challenging times, Bill. We worked hand in hand during the 2009, subprime mortgage crisis, and we dealt with up to $6 billion deficits over a period of time. So we'll get through it. We're going to figure out a way to get through it, but it's a scary time.
It is very much so, Jim, and you mentioned the fiscal aspect of it. That is going to be staggering. It has been already for the state, federal government, and Westford and local communities. Interestingly, my background was not in education. I have an engineering undergraduate degree and at my MBA from Babson, and I've been teaching economics for many years, and know the issue of the multiplier effect of spending, but also withdrawing money from the economy. And it's going to take some time for the regeneration of that revenue at the federal, state, and local levels to get anywhere back to some normalcy in terms of having a consistent, stable funding mechanism for municipalities in general. So,
it's certainly going to be a moving target for a while. I am happy that the legislature over the last 12 years has continued to pay into our rainy day fund, which is a little over $3 billion now. But it's raining, Bill. So we're going to have to figure out a way to make ends meet come this next budget. Typically right now, as you know, we would have a budget on the governor's desk by now. And we haven't started a House or Senate budget. It's either going to go through a 1/12 smaller budget, or we're going to have to figure out a sort of a pre-conference budget to get revenues to cities and towns as soon as possible.
We're looking at that right now. We're looking at throughout the entire budget for fiscal 21 because we're expecting some significant need to reduce services and the amount of money in our budget that we received or will be receiving from the town. We're spending every day looking at how do we reopen this building, the Millennium Office Building, according to the the state's COVID-19 plan for reopening in the different phases and the different aspects of it, whether it be the distancing of people, the scheduling of work. Do we have people come in full-time, part-time, staggered hours? What's the proximity of them? Do we spread them out? How do we now deal with the public? Those are all things that we're looking at in addition to how do we remotely educate children. And so our days are consumed. Something I'm sure you've recognized also is there's no more, when you have 10 people around the table in a meeting, you can come to some consensus in terms of what you're going to do, and people can pop in and out of your offices and ask questions. My email is 20 times what it used to be, because now everybody who's involved in a conversation online is asking questions back and forth. And so there's 20 emails where there used to be, one interaction in the office in an in-person environment.
It's so true. Well, Bill, I can't thank you enough for this discussion. It goes so quickly. We certainly touched on a few things that we could have probably hour shows on easily. Discussions on budget, discussion on remote learning, discussions on but I really appreciate you coming in, Bill, and I appreciate you educating the town of Westford a little bit about what the school systems are going through right now.
And I'll be glad to come on at any time between now and the end of the school year and next year. Can I just leave you with something for 1 second? Some of the teachers have had tears in their eyes when they've been in our buildings cleaning out their possessions. And they look at this empty desks in the classrooms and understand what that means to them. And, sometimes in the graduation speech, I read a quote by Dr. Leo Buscaglia, who passed away a number of years ago, but was very famous on public TV. And I'd like to just leave you with one quote of his that pretty much describes what a great teacher means to a child. And that is, too often, we underestimate the power of a touch, a smile, a kind word, a listening ear, an honest compliment, or the smallest act of caring, all of which have the potential to turn a life around and to turn a life around of a child. That favorite teacher that all of us had possessed some of those characteristics to make us feel special. That's what we want to do, is we want to get everyone back. Teachers want to give them all hugs, give them a pat in the back, nice smile, tell them how important they are to all of us.
Well, very well said, Bill. At the top of the show, I usually ask my guests, because we had so much to cover, how is the family and how's everybody doing?
Everyone's doing fine. We're trying to stay out of each other's way. I have to, we have 8 grandchildren, and my wife is very busy with babysitting during the day when I'm normally at work. And now I hit the mute button a lot on the online remotes because of the kids floating in and out of the room and grabbing a toy and yelling at each other. So,
well, you're a little different from me. I fight my daughter for the remote. A little different.
The normal American family.
That's right. Well, listen, Bill, thank you. You've been a great friend to me, to this town, to Westford school system. I got a little ahead of myself and said we were number one in the nation. You're number one in my heart of the nation. But thank you. And I'm going to close the show of next week. Each and every week, I'm bringing in individuals that are on the front lines dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. I appreciate Bill Olsen for coming on today. And to all my viewers at home, I look forward to seeing you soon. Stay safe and stay healthy, everybody. See you next time.